Hello lovelies, welcome to Nut Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is Why Psychopaths Run the World. Something a little bit different for today, but I think it's really important that we break the cognitive dissonance that a lot of us are still facing. And if you don't know what I mean by cognitive dissonance, I just mean when your brain can't handle kind of two bits of information that are competing. And what I mean by that is, for example, when you think of a political leader. One side of you thinks that he is an upstanding citizen of society, and on the other hand, you might have been told he's a psychopath. And the brain is confused by those two bits of information as to which one is right. So, psychopaths run the world because they gain positions of power and authority. That's the first thing. And they use those positions to exploit and victimize individuals. Now, if you think about things like the police force, this is where you'll find your psychopaths. The police force, the political arena, churches, the media, big oil, big pharma, big tobacco, any of those kind of, like I said, places where there is prestige, power, control, and access to people, money, etc. So that psychopaths are attracted to the power. So let's go through the 10 points about why narcissists, I'm so used to talking about narcissists, why psychopaths run the world. All right, so number one, non-disordered folk, so normal folk like you and I, we can't even imagine that they exist. We think that psychopaths only exist in the realm of movies. In actuality, they live and breathe and walk amongst us. They look like we look. They act like we look when we are watching them, but behind the scenes, it's a totally different thing. Point number two, people confuse psychopaths with sociopaths. It's the same disorder, antisocial personality disorder. However, it's kind of the two extremes of the disorder. So the sociopaths are your lower level, your lower rung psychopaths. They are the ones that you'll find who are involved with criminal gangs, bikie gangs, the mafia, that kind of thing. Then you've got the psychopaths, who are the smart ones. And they are the ones who realise, well, why would you bother being involved with the criminal gang, that can get caught and go to jail, etc., when you can just run the government, when you can be the government, when you can be untouchable, essentially. So they're attracted to positions of power. So point number three, psychopaths are not motivated by the same things that you and I are motivated by. Which is why we have such a hard time understanding what are they actually doing. When you realise that psychopaths are psychologically they feel empty all the time, no matter how much they have, no matter what they do, there's this emptiness that comes with it. When you realise that, it gives you a bit more of an understanding as to what motivates them. And another thing to consider is because they have such a high kind of tolerance to chaos and disorder, they often look like the cool cucumber. The one who's running the government at the time when all the chaos is going on, and they're so calm, and they don't show any kind of signs of being flappable, being like human. That's because for them there is actually not a connect. There's a disconnect between what is actually going on and their inner world, essentially. And they don't feel threatened. So, number four, enough is never enough to fill that inner void. We're talking about people who become billionaires. We're talking about people who have everything you could ever possibly want, and yet they still want more. And it's because nothing actually brings the satisfaction that they're seeking. They get more pleasure out of duping someone, out of stealing something from someone, about getting one over someone, about feeling and believing they're smarter than someone else, especially someone who's held up in high esteem. So, for example, if you are a psychopath and you work for the president, and you literally are his right-hand man and you give him information on the daily, the psychopath would be the one who gets a kick from knowing what they're saying isn't true and seeing the most powerful man in the world or the country, whatever, believing it. That makes them feel good. But it's only momentary. It doesn't last long. That satisfaction doesn't last long. All right, number 5. Psychopaths will always take advantage of any kindness, any love, and any trust. It's in their nature to take advantage of people. So I'll just talk about on the kind of micro level. So, for example, if you're in a relationship with a psychopath, just say, I don't know, your cousins or it's your grandchild or whatever, and adult grandchild, and they come around and you've left your handbag in the kitchen. The psychopath will steal your money and justify the behaviour because you deserved it, because you left your bag just sitting there open, unguarded. It was right there. In their mind, that's your fault for being so stupid. Like, there are thieves around. Don't you realise there are thieves around? That is the way the psychopath thinks. They see the world as a dog-eat-dog world, and if you're not the dog that's eating, you're the dog being eaten, and that is just their view on life. That's their reality. That's the way they think. So they'll always take advantage of you, and it's fun as well. It makes them feel good. All right, so number 6, they're also really good at keeping a mask on. And what I mean by that is they wear a mask of normalcy, of, they pretend to be a law-abiding, upstanding citizen, church-going often. They'll say and do all the right things, none of which means anything to them. It means something to us as the observer of them attending church or the observer of them wearing a suit and tie, and we assume that it means, that they are professional. But in actuality, once again, this is just an illusion. It's a mask. And the fact is that no matter how much they get exposed, they will continue to wear the mask, which makes it very confusing for the people trying to expose them, for the other people around who are seeing the exposing occurring. For example, if you think of what's going on with Gil Bates at the moment. Gil Bates, he's been called a psychopath, and rightfully so. But there are a lot of people in the Twitter sphere, who are still confused because they see the mask. They haven't seen behind the mask. They've just witnessed what he puts out, the image that he presents to the world, the charities, that side. They don't see the duper's delight, the smile that he gets when he's talking about COVID deaths, when he's talking about vaccinations, and the second wave. The man smirks. That's because he cannot contain what's going on inside. He's actually feeling excited over it. He's feeling what's called duper's delight. He feels like he's outwitting, outsmarting, and outplaying us, and he can't help but smile. That's what I'm talking about when I say the mask. All right, number 7. So the other thing that you have to understand is that psychopaths run the world because they justify all of their bad behaviour. It doesn't matter what they do. It's how they justify it to themselves and others. They don't really care about others, but if they can get you to believe something, then that kind of makes it more real for them. So with their crimes that they commit, as I said, they will just justify that for it. You know, it's for the greater good. It's you know, for example, if you think of, you know, American presidents who have bombed entire countries, you know, leveled entire countries, women and children, countless civilian deaths, and they can justify that because in their mind, whatever it is that they were doing, whatever their agenda was, you know, was worth it. You know, there's this disconnect between what they've actually done. And the psychopath will never, you know, they won't be ever reconsidering this stuff. They won't be up at night, you know, pacing the boards, worrying about what they've done. They're sleeping soundly because it doesn't matter and they just don't care. Number 8, you have to always remember that psychopaths hate us non-disordered folk. They hate us because we don't have value to them. They just see us as, you know, probably the way we see insects maybe. Or if we are in their realm of existence and we either don't succumb to them or we figure them out, they will hate us for that. If we don't want anything to do with us, if we don't want to have anything to do with them, they will hate us for that. They just don't have any empathy or any compassion, any remorse, all those kind of things that really make us human. In actuality, the psychopathic brain is more like the lizard mind. So that's a whole other video in itself, but I'm just going to say that, you know, they don't have the brain function that makes us human. They just don't have that. All right, number 9. So they don't care about the future because it's not going to impact upon them, as in like the future, as in for future generations. So this is why psychopaths can be involved in some of the greatest crimes against the planet. You know, environmental crimes, because they don't care, because they're not going to be here in 100 years. And psychopaths really don't care about anyone but themselves. I mean, that is at the end of the day, that's exactly what summarizes a psychopath. They don't care about anyone but themselves. They will always seek out positions of power and authority. They will always rise up to the very top positions of authority. They will do it through dirty games, you know, dirty politics, manipulation, cons. They'll do whatever it takes because they just don't care who they hurt or what they have to do to achieve their ends, their agenda. And right now, our world is being run by quite a few psychopaths. The first step that we have to take is to be able to identify them, because this is the other problem, is that psychopaths don't care what we think about them. So if you go to Gil Bates' Instagram, if you look at all the comments and all the hate that he's been left, he doesn't care. He does not care. In a psychopath's mind, you know, it's not what you say to them. I mean, you can, if you know, I'll talk about on the macro level. If you were in a relationship with a psychopath and you say, you're a psychopath, I can't stand to be near you and I'm going to leave you, they will say, yeah, okay. They don't care. They're not going to let you just leave. No, don't be silly. That's not going to happen, you know. So on the macro level, when you've got psychopaths running the world, they don't care if they've been outed. They can still go to the media functions and smile for the cameras and look like the picture of perfect control, because to give up power, I mean, they're not going to give up power, essentially. They're not going to give up power. It's going to have to be wrestled from them. There is not a psychopath alive that will just go, oh, you figured me out. Okay, well, here's the keys to the kingdom back. Sorry about that. No, that's not going to happen. This is going to be a battle. I mean, it's already starting, and if you're not aware of it, you need to wise up and get involved, because it is a battle for the very future of humanity on Earth. And I know that sounds extreme, but that's the reality. All right, lovelies, thanks for listening, and get psychopath free and stay psychopath free. Bye.